The Anderson Group's glass and steel headquarters towered over downtown Seattle, its top floors disappearing into the morning fog. I sat in my cubicle, deliberately plain and unassuming, watching the executives file into the main conference room for the quarterly shareholders meeting. My sister Katherine, impeccable in her designer suit, paused by my desk. Her lips curved into that familiar condescending smile she'd perfected since taking over as CEO after our father's retirement. "Still working on those reports, Amanda?" She made it sound like I was coloring with crayons. "The meeting today is for shareholders and executive staff only. You understand, don't you? Someone needs to keep things running out here." I glanced at my watch, 9:50 a.m. In exactly 10 minutes, the law firm of Brighton and Associates would deliver the documents revealing that Phoenix Ventures, my carefully hidden investment company, now owned 51% of Anderson Group's shares. "Of course, Katherine," I replied quietly, turning back to my computer screen. "I'll just stay here and process invoices." She lingered, never able to resist a chance to remind me of my place. "You know, if you just finished business school like Dad wanted, you might be in there with us. But I suppose some people are just meant for simpler roles." What Katherine didn't know was that I had finished business school, at night, while working my way up through various companies, learning every aspect of corporate operations from the ground up. While she was attending charity galas and collecting board positions through Dad's connections, I was building something real. My phone buzzed softly, a message from my lawyer. "Documents prepared. Team in position. Commence at 10 a.m. sharp." I typed back a single word: "Proceed." "Oh, and Amanda," Katherine added, already turning away, "we'll need coffee service in the boardroom. Make sure it's the premium blend this time, not that cheap stuff you ordered last month." I smiled, remembering how I'd deliberately ordered the cheap coffee, knowing it would give Katherine another excuse to highlight my incompetence. Every perceived failure had been carefully orchestrated, building their confidence while masking my true intentions. Through the glass walls, I could see our father settling into his chairman's seat. Robert Anderson, founder of Anderson Group, now semi-retired but still controlling the company through his chosen successor, my perfect, privileged sister. He caught my eye through the glass and frowned slightly, probably wondering why his disappointing younger daughter was even looking in that direction. My other phone, the one they didn't know about, buzzed with updates from my real office at Phoenix Ventures. Stock purchases confirmed. Proxy votes secured. Board members quietly informed of the impending change in ownership. Everything was ready. I watched the final executives hurry into the boardroom, clutching their leather portfolios and tablets. My brother-in-law James, Katherine's husband and the company's CFO, shot me a smug look as he passed. Just last week at the family dinner, he'd made a point of discussing his new Ferrari while asking if I'd finally paid off my used Toyota. The Toyota, like everything else about my apparent mediocrity, was a carefully chosen prop. They had no idea about the collection of luxury cars in my private garage, or the penthouse overlooking the bay, or the fact that I'd been systematically buying up Anderson Group shares through various shell companies for the past 3 years. At 9:58 a.m., right on schedule, an elegant woman in a crisp suit walked past my desk, nodding slightly. Jessica Brighton, senior partner at Brighton and Associates, and the only person besides my lawyers who knew my true identity as the CEO of Phoenix Ventures. I stood up, straightening my intentionally modest dress, and followed her to the boardroom. Katherine's voice carried through the door as we approached. "Before we begin, I'm pleased to announce that Anderson Group's stock has reached an all-time high. Our strategy of aggressive expansion." Jessica pushed open the door, interrupting Katherine mid-sentence. The room fell silent as every head turned to stare at the unexpected intrusion. "Ms. Anderson," Jessica began, addressing Katherine, "I apologize for the interruption, but I have some rather urgent documents that require immediate attention." Katherine's perfect smile faltered slightly. "We're in the middle of a shareholders meeting. Whatever it is can wait." "Actually," Jessica replied, opening her briefcase, "this pertains directly to the shareholders meeting. Specifically, to the matter of majority ownership of Anderson Group." Dad leaned forward in his chair. "What are you talking about?" "The Anderson family holds majority ownership through our private shares. That situation," Jessica said calmly, "has recently changed." I stepped into the room, moving to stand beside Jessica. Katherine's eyes narrowed. "Amanda, I told you this meeting is private. And why aren't you in uniform if you're here to serve coffee? She's not here to serve coffee, Jessica announced, placing a thick folder on the conference table. She's here as the majority shareholder of Anderson Group, through her company Phoenix Ventures. The silence that followed was absolute. Catherine's face went pale then red. James dropped his Mont Blanc pen. Dad's hands gripped the arms of his chair until his knuckles turned white. That's impossible, Katherine finally managed. Phoenix Ventures is. Everyone knows they're owned by some reclusive tech billionaire. Actually, I said, speaking for the first time, Phoenix Ventures is owned by me. Has been since I founded it 8 years ago while you all thought I was just pushing papers in a cubicle. Dad found his voice. 8 years? But you've been working here as a clerk. Administrative assistant, I corrected him. Yes, I have. Learning every aspect of this company's operations while building my own empire on the side. Did you never wonder why I stayed in such a modest position? Why I seemed content to let Katherine run everything? This is ridiculous, Katherine snapped, but her voice trembled slightly. Show me proof. Jessica began distributing documents to each board member. Full documentation of share purchases, voting rights, and transfer of ownership. As of 9 a.m. this morning, Phoenix Ventures owns 51% of Anderson Group's outstanding shares. I moved to the head of the table, taking the seat that had always been Katherine's. Now, shall we begin the real shareholders' meeting? The boardroom erupted into chaos. Katherine's perfectly manicured hands trembled as she flipped through the documents, her face growing paler with each page. James was frantically typing on his phone, probably trying to verify the stock transactions. The other board members whispered among themselves, shooting glances between me and my family. This can't be legal, Katherine finally declared, her voice shrill. Daddy, do something. Our father was still staring at me like he'd never seen me before. In a way he hadn't. For years he'd seen only what I wanted him to see. The quiet, underachieving daughter who couldn't match her sister's business acumen. The transactions are completely legal, Jessica confirmed, pulling out more documents. Every share purchase was properly recorded and registered. The SEC has been fully informed of the ownership change. But the money, James interrupted, his CFO instincts kicking in. Anderson Group shares are worth billions. Where did you get that kind of capital? I smiled, thinking of the empire I'd built while they weren't watching. Phoenix Ventures isn't just one company, James. We own technological patents, real estate developments, and controlling interests in dozens of corporations across multiple industries. Anderson Group is actually one of our smaller acquisitions. Smaller. Katherine choked out the word. Current market value of Phoenix Ventures holdings exceeds $12 billion, Jessica stated matter-of-factly. The purchase of Anderson Group shares represented less than 20% of available liquid assets. Dad finally found his voice. All this time, while we thought you were just the family disappointment? I finished for him. The one who couldn't handle business school? The one who needed a simple job to keep her occupied. I turned to Katherine. How did you put it at last month's family dinner? At least Amanda knows her limitations. Katherine's face flushed. You deceived us. Played us for fools while secretly plotting to take over our company. Your company? I raised an eyebrow. You mean the company you inherited through Dad's connections? The one you've been running into the ground with your focus on short-term profits and flashy acquisitions. I pressed a button on the conference room console, and the wall screens came to life, displaying financial charts and data. Look familiar, James? These are the real numbers you've been trying to hide. The failing projects, the mounting debt, the questionable accounting practices. Did you really think nobody would notice? James slumped in his chair, his arrogance deflating. As CFO, he knew exactly what those numbers meant, and what they revealed about his management. We've had some temporary setbacks, Katherine protested, but her voice lacked conviction. Our latest quarterly report shows what you wanted it to show, I cut her off. But Phoenix Ventures forensic accountants found the truth. Would you like me to share their findings with the board? The other board members stirred uneasily. They knew what a forensic audit might reveal about their own complicity in Katherine and James's creative accounting. What do you want? Dad asked quietly. Money? Recognition? Your name on the building? I laughed softly. Dad, I have more money than this entire family combined. I own buildings across 3 continents. What I want is to save this company from your precious heir's mismanagement. I've done nothing wrong. Katherine stood up, her designer heels clicking against the hardwood floor. This company has prospered under my leadership. Sit down, Katherine, I said firmly. Before I ask Jessica to share the SEC's preliminary findings about your insider trading activities. She fell back into her chair, face ashen. How did you know? I've had people watching every move you've made for years. Every illegal trade, every hidden account, every secret meeting with competitors. Did you really think you could hide it all forever? James reached for his wife's hand, but she pulled away. Their perfect power couple facade was cracking under the weight of exposed truth. As of this moment, I continued, both of you are suspended from your positions pending a full investigation. Security is currently changing the locks on your offices and securing your computers. You can't do this, Katherine whispered, but there was no conviction in her voice anymore. Actually, I can. As majority shareholder, I can do exactly what's needed to save this company from your mismanagement. I turned to the board members. Unless anyone else would like their personal financial dealings examined by our forensic team. The silence that followed was deafening. These men and women who had followed Katherine and James's lead without question, now sat like chastened schoolchildren. Amanda, Dad tried again, his voice taking on the persuasive tone he'd used throughout our childhood. Surely we can discuss this as a family. Find some compromise that keeps the Anderson name. The name stays, I interrupted. But everything else changes. Starting now. I nodded to Jessica, who began distributing another set of documents. These are the immediate changes to corporate governance. New board appointments, management restructuring, and a complete audit of all operations. Katherine grabbed the papers, her hands shaking. You're firing us? Your own family? No, Katherine. I'm saving this company from our family. From the nepotism, the corruption, and the entitled mismanagement that's been bleeding it dry. I stood up, looking each board member in the eye. You have a choice. Cooperate with the investigation and transition, or face the consequences of your actions. Either way, Anderson Group will be transformed into what it should have been all along, a properly managed, ethically run corporation. Dad slumped in his chair, looking suddenly old. All these years, we thought we were the successful ones. I smiled, thinking of all the family dinners where they'd mocked my modest lifestyle, never suspecting that their apparent success was built on sand while I was quietly constructing an empire of steel. Success isn't about showing off wealth or flaunting power, Dad. It's about building something real, something lasting. Something you all forgot a long time ago. The aftermath of the shareholders' meeting unfolded like a carefully orchestrated symphony. Security escorted Katherine and James from the building, their personal belongings packed in cardboard boxes. A far cry from the designer briefcases they'd carried in that morning. The board members scattered, each no doubt rushing to consult their lawyers about their own culpability. Dad lingered, staring at me like he was seeing a stranger. In many ways he was. Why, he finally asked. Why work in a cubicle all these years when you had all of this? I walked to the window, looking out at the city skyline. My skyline, though few people knew it. Remember when you told me I wasn't cut out for business? That I should find something more suitable for my abilities. He flinched at the memory. I was trying to protect you. The business world is harsh. No, I cut him off. You were protecting Katherine. Everything was always about protecting Katherine. The golden child, the perfect heir, the one who could do no wrong. And look how that turned out, he said quietly, glancing at the financial reports still displayed on the screens. My phone buzzed, updates from the security team. Katherine's office had yielded a treasure trove of incriminating documents. James's computer contained enough evidence of financial misconduct to keep prosecutors busy for months. Miss Phoenix, my real assistant, entered. Not the meek persona I'd played in my cubicle, but the sharp, capable woman who helped me run my empire. The press is gathering in the lobby. They've caught wind of the ownership change. Dad's head snapped up. Phoenix. You're really the Phoenix they've been writing about? The mysterious billionaire who's been revolutionizing corporate America. The very same, I smiled. Amazing what you can accomplish when no one's watching. or when they're too busy mocking you to notice. The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity. Press releases went out announcing the change in leadership. Stock prices fluctuated wildly as the market digested the news. My phone kept buzzing with messages from family members, first angry, then pleading, then desperate as the full scope of my takeover became clear. "Mom, darling, please call us. We need to understand what's happening. Katherine, you can't do this to me. I've worked too hard. James, the offshore accounts. Please, we can make a deal." I ignored them all, focusing instead on the task at hand, saving Anderson Group from the mess they'd made of it. By evening, the initial shock had worn off, replaced by the heavy reality of what came next. I sat in Katherine's former office, now mine, reviewing the preliminary audit reports. The damage was even worse than I'd suspected. A soft knock at the door interrupted my work. Dad stood there looking smaller somehow without his usual air of authority. "Security said I needed your permission to come up," he said, attempting a weak smile. "Standard protocol for suspended executives," I replied, not looking up from my reports. "Suspended? But I'm retired." "Semi-retired," I corrected him. "And still drawing a 7-figure salary while serving as chairman. A position you used to rubber stamp every questionable decision Katherine made." He sank into a chair across from me. I trusted her. She was so confident, so sure of herself. "No," I said firmly. "You didn't trust her. You favored her. There's a difference." "And you?" he asked quietly. "Did building all this make you happy? Prove us wrong." I finally looked up at him. "This isn't about proving you wrong, Dad. It's about proving myself right. Every time you dismissed my ideas, every time Katherine mocked my little job, every time Mom suggested I just find a rich husband like she did, I was building something real." "The press is calling you a corporate raider," he said. "The press doesn't know the whole story. I don't raid companies, I save them. Transform them. Turn them into what they should have been all along." "And Anderson Group? What happens to your family's legacy?" I stood up, walking to the window where the city lights were coming on. "The legacy stays. But it will be earned now, not inherited. Every position, every promotion, every decision will be based on merit, not family connections. Even Katherine's? Especially Katherine's. If she wants to stay with the company, she'll start at entry level. Learn the business properly from the ground up, like I did."